I'm not doing anything, not opening my emails, not doing anything about the business. But if you're a business owner, even if you're taking time off over this holiday period, it's the perfect time to do a little bit of structured reflection because you're not getting bombarded by client calls and emails and proposals and things like that because they're also taking a break. So I like this time of year particularly to do that thing. Start with what's worked, celebrating the big wins, taking a little bit of time to go, ooh, aren't we awesome? But then also saying, well, what's no longer serving me? What are the systems or habits or things that I need to reevaluate that perhaps prevented me getting more wins or made some of those wins a little clunky? So it's a time for reflecting on your positives and your celebrations and your wins, to reflect on those things and habits that perhaps you want to improve for next year. But then the biggest and the key thing for me is write down those things. Write down essentially like a pro con list, the pros being the wins and the cons being the things that don't serve you anymore, but write it down. Now, I don't care if you do anything with it, but simply the act of writing it down will start processing it in your head. And so when you come into the new year and you go, I'm going to go back and do that thing, your brain will already say to you, actually, do we want to do that again? Should we continue with that habit or that system? So it's a really great way of actually, when you write it down or verbalize it with a colleague or a friend over a hot chocolate or a glass of wine, it's a great thing because then it processes it through your head. So when you do your reflection, don't just sit quietly and do it internally. Whether you're extrovert or introvert, the same process happens. Write it down or have a conversation so that you can actually start processing and really get excited about what could come next year.
Oh, I think that's such a good idea. I've been doing the talking about it with a couple of people, but the writing it down, you're right. It cements it. It's there. It's done. You're on. That's exciting.
And also there's a whole lot of research about the neural pathways that are connected when you actually take a thought out of your brain and write it down on a piece of paper so it can be typed on a mobile phone or handwritten. The handwriting has a stronger neural connection, supposedly. But by doing that, it actually also gets it out of your head. So you're not actually then ruminating over the things that went wrong this year. It's out of your head, it's on paper, and now you can move past it and you can actually find ways to not repeat that same challenge next year, or develop really cool new systems that are going to help it kind of grow into something different in the new year. So I think it's a really, really important aspect to have, that writing it down piece.
Me too. Tell me what's one for you that you're feeling like it was a good learning experience for you and you're going to do it differently next year.
Ooh, that's a very good question. I hadn't thought about that one for myself yet. I haven't done that reflection yet, but on the spot, um, I know this is going to sound a bit of a strange one, but for me, because I'm traveling so much at the moment and the business is we're really successful at the moment. We've had such an amazing year and we're about to launch Empire Builders in the US, as we've talked about. We are going to do it in Miami, Florida in October, but we thought with the storm it's probably not the best time. So we're looking to do that in first and second quarter next year. And so what I've learned from the constant travel, and as I said, I've been home maybe 10 days, the biggest lesson for me is that systems and processes around how to transition from travel back to the office, back to clients here, back to travel, and that kind of constant kind of wheel that I've been on. So one of the things we started to do in the last month with my husband and I is start to say, well, what is our go bag for our trip? So what are the things that I can create that sit in my suitcase that never come out? Now that means I might have to have two toothbrushes and two sets of makeup and two sets of, toiletries. But that simple act for me, and we started to do it on the last couple of trips, means it takes one thing out of my brain I don't have to worry about, which means the process becomes much more easier. I only have to worry about washing clothes. Now, if I could have a whole new set of clothes just for travel, that's another conversation. That would be two showrooms. But this way, it means that simple thing. So it's a simple thing which doesn't seem to be important to business, but actually makes the transition. I mean, we flew in from LA last Tuesday morning, and we flew out to Sydney Wednesday morning. So it's a 24-hour period to empty and repack a suitcase. So those little systems and habits for me are starting to be a game changer for managing time, management engagements, and then it streamlines the way they operate. So not necessarily related to business, but actually really helpful for my efficiency and productivity.
That is going to help business as well because your brain isn't bamboozled with, I've got to do this, this, and this, and God, have I packed the bag, blah, blah, blah. Do you know that takes me back 21 years when my husband, who's very much about systems and not double handling and all of that, and in the very early days of having a baby, he wrote a list for what goes in the nappy bag. So you get home, get rid of all the bits, repack it, and then it's ready to go at a second's notice, just pick up and go. So I love that. And I still have my bag here in my office from the last growth trio that is always packed. So there's always my cords in this. So just like you, it means I've got to have seconds and thirds of things, but I like to have it always packed, and then I'm ready for an in-person event or a meeting or whatever that I just pick up and go.
Yeah, it's honestly a game changer. So whatever your business is like that, whether you're working from home, and I started to do it when I worked in when I had a space in a co-working space or working from my client's office, I would leave things in that office that I didn't have to take every day. So it may have been the charger cord, it may have been the second HDMI cable, or even if it's my favorite tea bags, right? It doesn't have to be technology. It's the things that make you settle in and feel like you're in flow. They're the things you want to be able to have on demand when you need them, and not going, oh my gosh, I forgot that again. And I
Yeah,
was doing that for the first 6 months of the year, driving my husband mad, and now we find a way to get through that. So I think it's really important.
that's so good.
And I think one of the other things for me, and I think it goes to my next thing, that is about organizing our systems, right? To me, that leads into what we do over the break periods always. It's organizing systems. We do a tech audit. We do a review of our files. We look at what are the systems and software we're using. Is there any, I'm looking at my desk now because I said I've been traveling so much. It's a little bit of a bombshell, not going to lie. So my brain's thinking, what do I need to do so that when I'm traveling so much, it doesn't feel like this at the end of every week when I'm home? So I start to look at systems and processes and the ways of working that's going to make my life happier and more calm, but also means that I can deliver far more efficiently and effectively to my clients and be able to coach on spec, all those things. So organizing your systems is the perfect time to do when there's no one calling you or emailing you over the next 2 weeks.
I like it. Jenny, one of the things that I'm going to be working on next year and doing completely different. And so, like you, during my break, I've got to come up with the plan, which I think I already have. But my downside this year, or fall down this year, has been, that fabulous saying by Jim Rohn that is, the fortune is in the follow-up. And my follow-ups have been terrible. The reason for that is because we're pretty much fully booked all the time. We're flat out. I'm really prioritizing my Fridays off and, just living a better life, work-life balance. However, when I do have those great strategy chats and people are ready for coming on board or whatever it is, and I say, I'll send you this and I'll send you that, sometimes it's weeks later, and that's really not good. And sometimes that's not even my fault. Sometimes I do send it, but, there's always issues with emails not getting through or whatever it is. So for me, or maybe I've sent out that first round of stuff, and then what about my follow-up? So my team and I have been working on our automations with our new CRM. We've just been working on lots of stuff behind the scenes that's heavy, it's getting in the thick of it, and it's like, oh, but the fortune's in the follow-up. So me going forward into next year and with my whole team, we're going to do a whole lot better with that.
And I think that's a great example of that system piece, right? It's reviewing what we're doing. Follow-ups for me are also the same. Thankfully, I've got amazing Helena who's been supporting me with the follow-ups, and then Macy and Kelsey who do our socials to make sure that I'm on top of messages and things that come through. So we've now created systems, both human systems and then support systems to enable us that, because we recognized that in June this year that we were like, oh, that was something that we were supposed to do 3 months ago. Are you still there? And people go, not really.
Yes.
So I think that's a really important time. Excuse me. What's one of the other things that you're going to do over the break to really set your 2025 up for you?
I've bought a few courses lately that are not what I enjoy. And that is that I like things that are live. I like to turn up live and interact, ask questions in the chat or whatever. So I try and never buy courses, because I've learnt my lesson the expensive way, that I actually don't do them. If they're not live and I've got to do the recording later on, I don't do it. But I've scheduled time. So I'm having almost 2 weeks off, and then I've got 3 days before I'm officially back, where I'm just deep diving into some really good stuff. And I've scheduled out those days to the minute and with what I need to do. But some of those are to deep dive into those courses. Some of them are only an hour or two, but I just have to get on and watch them and action them.
Two things that I love about what you're doing is using this time to upgrade your skills and knowledge, really simply, right? You've got 2 weeks. Trust me, if you're an entrepreneur who's been busy all year, you're going to struggle in the first couple of days to sit and do nothing because your brain will be wanting to do something. It'll be like, hang on, I need to check my emails. Do I have a meeting? What's going on? And I know we're going to be doing that definitely the first part of the new year because we have no meetings booked for 10 days. And I'm like, what does this mean for me? So that's an opportunity like you to read or to listen to that podcast or do that 1 hour a day courses. So I love that you're using this time to upgrade, upskill and learn new skills and knowledge. But what was the key thing for me in that conversation was about scheduling it in your diary. Now we've talked about scheduling so much over the last couple of years, and I think when you're on a break, scheduling can be a really great way to continue to ground yourself and not feel like you're kind of in a free fall over the break. So even if it's only scheduling 90 minutes or scheduling 2 hours or 30 minutes a day, that scheduling keeps that habit alive during the break. So you don't come back in the new year with kind of like a laissez-faire attitude to your diary going, why am I overwhelmed by February? So I think what I love about that is if you don't want to do any upskilling, which I think you should, for anyone listening, consider just doing 30 minutes a day of something in your diary that you schedule to keep the scheduling habit, but also keep that kind of entrepreneur need to look at my diary and check my emails and do some proposals every day of the year. Just give yourself a break, but schedule it by doing 20 or 30 minutes a day. We'll keep that at bay.
I agree. And one thing that I do is tidy up my emails at that time. So I can do that on my phone, just, do a little search for what's coming from that thing and then bulk delete or select all that section and archive it or whatever it is. It's time for a tidy up. So like you said, it's time to tidy up the office. For me, it's time to tidy up my Google Drive, my emails, just a bunch of that stuff that doesn't take brain power. It's not going to make me get really ensconced into the busyness of business. It's just a little bit of scheduling to 20 minutes of this, 20 minutes of that, another 20 minutes, and I've just had a great hour of tidying.
Yeah, I do that with my office. I do that with our systems. My amazing ops manager who does my email support at the moment, Helena, she's doing that at the moment, wanting to make sure my emails are almost cleared out by Christmas. And so that's been really, as a system for me, is using one of my assistants, and you can use your virtual assistant if you have one to do that, is do an email check with you a couple of times a week to help keep you on top of your emails when you have too many. So when it gets to this time of year, you're not dealing with 14,000 emails. You're only dealing with maybe a couple of hundred if you're lucky, worst case. One of the other things I wanted to talk about over the break now, it seems a little bit of heavy work, but it's a really good time if you're with your partner and your family, when you're doing that reflection about how great your year was, is to actually start thinking about what do I want 2025 or the next year to look like. And so you can do it as a formal kind of vision and strategy review session where you sit down and go, okay, well, what is my mission for my business? What are my values? Are they still aligned? Am I still on track to doing what I want to do? And you can do a bit of a business plan. But actually, if you take a step back and think about it in the holiday spirit, it's sitting around with family, sitting around with people that you love and you trust to say, well, this is what I want to go. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to be. And this is what I want the business to look like. And start really envisioning that in conversation over the Christmas break. So use that time when you're with friends and family and colleagues potentially to sit down and say, well, where are we going? What is this business going to look like? So when someone says to you, how's your year been? You can say, my year's been amazing, but what I'm really excited for is next year. And this is what we're doing next year. So really start putting yourself into the following year, into 2025, saying, this is what I'm going to be doing. The sooner you can start doing that and embodying that kind of vision in your brain, the quicker you're going to get there and the quicker you're going to actually start enacting all the things you need to. So I really encourage you to do a bit of a revisit of your strategy and your vision, but do it in a way that actually starts to, essentially embody it in the day. Like, this is where we're going. This is what we're going to do. This is what I can see. And it's going to be a game changer for you. It seems a little bit woo-woo. I know we don't often talk woo-woo, but trust me, it's going to change the way that you view your business and the way other people view in your business as well.
I think that's such a great tip. And so I'm going to put a challenge out to you and also to everybody that listens and tunes in. Make one of those things be, what awards are you going to enter? So
Yeah.
it's a great time now. There's lists out there. You can go and find Annette Densham, for example, on Facebook. She has some great what do you call it? Just offers and things to let you know what is there available, like a whole list of what's up for the year. So I think that's really exciting. So that's a great thing when you and I have our big end of year wrap up, Jenny, is that we can just put 20 minutes aside to talk about awards. What are great awards for us? So yeah.
And I love that because also some of those awards come up, pretty quickly at all the same time. So having a plan now about
Yes.
what that might look like, I think is really key. So the last thing, because I know we're running out of time, where this is our last session for the year, I want to really remind people that the holiday period is important to do a reflection, important to use that time to maybe, reflect on your skills, look at what you want to upskill yourself, take some time, keep some of those schedules, envision next year, but also make sure that you rest. Now, for me, this is the biggest thing. Now, and I know you, Kylie, your diary looks as crazy as mine does most weeks. And I think this is the perfect time for anyone, even if you're someone who needs to be busy all the time, make sure that you've planned for rest and recovery. Because my favorite statement someone said to me once is success requires balance. And you can't have success unless you have balance. So you need to make sure that you recharge and maintain your energy, particularly if you're an entrepreneur doing coaching sessions and you're actually a highly functioning introvert. You need time to reflect and review and recharge and get clear about what you're going to do. So setting boundaries around what rest and recovery looks like for you, letting your team know, letting your clients know, and letting your family know what that looks like will help you build and create space for an incredible kind of creativity, and all the things you've been thinking about all year will start to flow if you give them space over the next couple of weeks.
That's so, so good. And I've already got clients messaging me saying, what's happening with the dates and the times that you're away? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I actually started that email a week ago and haven't finished it. But yeah, it's making sure that you're communicating well to your clients, to the world, to your staff, to everybody. What is happening so that you're setting expectations and setting boundaries.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of my other favorite quotes, I don't know who said it. Maybe I'll claim it. I don't know. It's rested minds create the boldest visions, which I love.
Yes.
So it's this idea of, let's get ready to build momentum. Let's get ready to kind of start the next year off with an incredible kind of passion and joy and everything ready to go. And so don't just close your doors on Friday or Tuesday, or whenever you're finishing up this year, and say, I'm done, and then reopen them and go, oh my gosh, what do I do? Take the next week, take a little bit of time over the break just to really get everything ready, so that when you open the doors for the new year, you're refreshed, you've got direction, you're really clear about what you're going to do, your diary's organized, your systems are organized, and you know where you're going. And if you can do that and take that little bit of time, and that's 10 or 15 minutes a day, people. This is not spending days and days and days doing planning. This is a couple of time, some moments during your break to really set yourself up for success next year.
Totally agree. Don't turn up on your first day back and go, oh God, where do I begin? Start the year the way that you want it to continue.
Agreed, agreed. Kylie, it's been an amazing 2024 talking to you and chatting with you with Bite Size this year. We've had so much fun. For everyone who's been listening to us, we're really excited to have you on our journey. This is our last one for 2024, but we look forward to see you in 2025. We'll be posting on our socials when the first session's back in the new year. But thank you very much. Great to chat to you, Kylie. Have a safe and fabulous holiday period and Christmas break. For those listening, safe travels if you're traveling. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all the things. Thanks very much for tuning into this episode and all our episodes of Bite Size Life Business Podcast. Be sure you subscribe and follow us so you don't miss any future episodes. There's going to be so much happening in 2025, and we want you on that journey with us. So thanks, everybody. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2025.
Bye-bye. Happy resting.